Hi, this is Ed, and it's Monday. Uh, I don't know. What's today's date, Ali?
Today's
23?
date is the 21st, I believe.
24? No, no,
I, I'm
20,
I'm
22. Yeah,
22nd. That's right.
yeah,
I'm still on
22.
Sunday.
Yeah, so I know it was a long Sunday with all the breaking news. So here we are. It's July 22nd, and welcome to Global TV Talk Show. This is a unit of Global Business News TV network. Global TV Talk Show presents Ali Shami today. And he's got his own business now, FTD Global. And this is a consultancy on executive leadership and executive behavior, I guess. We're going to learn more about that. Specifically today, we're going to address the topic of bosses and how bosses are leaders. In other words, talent leaders. We want to get away from what Stephen Howard calls nobody wants to get up and be managed. So we can't call it talent management ever again. And so it's leader communications or leader, what should we call it, Ali?
Leadership, it's that's great. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to come to the show. You know how much I enjoy being part of this discussion, and
And
like I mentioned, I always
how much my
welcome.
audience enjoys you.
Thank you, thank you. I love the focus, the topics, the being spontaneous also and coming up with ideas, and it's a conversation. And to me, it's I always walk away learning more than what I. So hopefully, what I share will be of beneficial, like it is with the rest of the folks I work with.
So I
Um,
wanted to just jump in here for a second, if I may.
yes,
And audience, this is spontaneous. It's not scripted, as you could tell. So buckle up. Here we go. So we're going to be talking about how bosses screw up as leaders, whether it's a small organization, but we're going to figure today from the view of a large company. Ali was for many years an executive with Boeing, and he took early retirement with a nice package, started his own business, got married, and again, or I don't know how many times you've been married, it doesn't matter, but you got married.
that's my
So,
second.
so let's talk about talent leadership and why it's difficult for some bosses to level up with their audience, i.e., the employees.
That's a great question, Ed. First of all, the word boss, I don't know, it doesn't resonate that well with me when I hear it. One of the things, the first thing I share with my team when I go and lead an organization, I'll say, as soon as somebody mentioned the word boss, I was like, take this out of your dictionary. I don't want to hear it. I don't know. It seems like just the boss is someone who, I mean, look at the language also, bossing somebody around. So it's not a great thing. You don't lead someone around. You boss someone around, that means it has a negative thing. But you're absolutely right. The question is, why is it difficult for leaders to treat their people right? Like mentioned, or like Stephen Howard mentioned, nobody wants to be micromanaged. At the same time, none of the leaders, bosses get up and say, okay, let me see what I can do to make life miserable for the people, for my people. No one does that. Now, in the back of their mind, they might think like, if my people are not doing what they're not making uh, taking advantage of the time, they're not using their time. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to tell them. I'm going to put pressure on them. I'm going to do this and this and this. So a lot of times people don't treat their leaders don't treat their peoples right. It's not because they don't like them. It's not. It's just they feel that is the right thing to do to increase productivity. So the bottom line is in their mind, I want to have the best business. I want to increase the productivity. And they get so carried away and so pulled by that gravity of meeting the bottom line, be profitable, and the focus on making money, gaining customers, doing well, being effective. They'll end up forgetting the sword, the folks who are responsible for that. So they put the side of treating them, connecting with the team, getting to know them on a personal level. It becomes a secondary. By the end of the day, they're so tired, they just go home and they don't get a chance to go and have a cup of coffee with one of the employees, or with their employees. So it's that strong gravity pull of the business, of the competition, the challenges that they have every day. It takes so much energy from them. Then they end up focusing on the numbers. They don't focus on the people.
So let me ask you a question about the boss perspective,
Yeah.
the leader perspective. All right, in a large company framework, I think that's important to signify, because in a small shop, it's all hands on deck. But in a large organization that's structured somewhat, and there's layers and protocols. So it's way different than in a small consultancy where you have one or two employees and you outsource other functions.
Yes.
So let's talk about from a large company. Your reference is Boeing, but this has nothing to do with Boeing. It's all about the situation, and that seems to be universal, whereby some leadership may be old school, maybe in our age bracket rather than Gen X or even younger. And the idea was, man, we got pressures, especially if there's venture capitalists involved and they're looking for ROI every month, if not quarter. And as a CEO, I'm playing that role for a second, that I have these departments, if you will, each with a manager, a leader, and I delegate responsibility to these bosses and then get out of their way and look for results. And I should, I guess, as a senior leader, care about how these um, um, these other leaders, um, project leaders, if you will, or segment leaders, what kind of person they are. Are they autocratic, or are they loving? Are they listeners, or are they don't want to listen to anybody because they think they know it all? But there's still productivity going on, so I better stay out of their way. And so, what do you do? And why is it so hard for some people to communicate or be afraid of rattling the cage of the next level down?
Yeah, that's another great question. As soon as you were talking, you're doing the comparison between a small company, a large company. If you want to compare it to a boat versus a ship. Small boat, it maneuvers fast, it can change directions. There's not that many people on the boat making a decision because there's not that many people on it to share where to go. Now, on a large ship, it's a huge ship. It has so many people on it, and especially when you have a huge ship and small rudder, it's hard to maneuver. It's hard to stop. There gets so much momentum going. People on board are doing the things over and over. They know what to do, and it becomes more difficult from the communication. You're on a small boat with four people. It's easy to communicate. You just have a meeting right there, and everybody is there. You say a word, everybody hears it. You hear something, everybody sees the same thing that is happening. A huge waves coming in. We need to avoid this situation. There's no need to communicate. Now we are on a big ship, like a big corporate, big company. It's very hard for folks. They don't have the same reality. Whoever is at the beginning, at the front of the ship, doesn't see what the person at the back of the ship or on the side. There's a totally different view. So you have that captain who is looking at the big ship, and he has the direction. He's going to communicate, like you're saying, communicate down to the rest of the leaders on the ship. And with the transmission of communication, it loses some of it, depending on the resistivity of the folks that you're working with, because people listen to what they want to hear. And so the communication is a big issue in a large company. And the leader at the top will be like, well, what do I need to do? How can I guarantee that everybody is aligned to the same vision, mission, and the strategy, the same specific goals for the organization? And that's the challenge of the big company.
So let me ask you,
Yes.
if I can jump in for a
Uh-huh.
second, just uh, in your experience in the past and current, when dealing with in the big company milieu, how frequent, how prominent is the concept of the CEO holding a fireside chat? Could be on Zoom, never mind in the lunchroom, in person, in that town hall setting, but it could be on Zoom also once a week. Like,
Yeah.
oh, today we're going to talk about what happened this week, what's prominent. Not that didn't not that other things didn't happen and weren't important, but we just don't have time for all that. So we're just going to pick one each week. And this week's issue in this chat, from my perspective as CEO, is blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening?
I see it, and it varies from one company to another. Some of those discussions, weekly discussions or bi-weekly discussions, are due to a crisis, and they feel like I have to communicate with the rest of the company, otherwise I'll be looked at as I'm not communication. People start making up their mind about the ideas about where the company is going, the fear. They have the self-talk started working. So do I see that happening. The smart companies are the ones that have those discussions, and they stay connected with their mid-level managers, and the people, not because they have to, because they feel that it's very important to stay connected. So the smart leaders, they are there. They walk to the floor. They engage with the people. They go to their luncheons. They go to the cafeteria, and they sit like everybody else. Now, somebody might think like, wait a minute, doesn't she have so much on her plate? How come she gotta eat? You gotta have a lunch. You gotta do this. You might as well. And I forget the name of the author, said, never have lunch alone. That's one of the things. If you're having your lunch alone as a leader, something is not right here. You're not really connecting with the people that you want to build relationships outside work. The meetings does not have to be always technical. So the smart companies do that.
Very good. That's a
Yeah,
great point.
yeah, the folks who are not connected and they feel that they are in the same boat with the people, they'll end up losing. A good example is the CEO, I believe it was Sony, but I forgot the name of the CEO, but he was gonna go and run the company, and then went to Japan, and it didn't last that long. Come to find out, after they said, you know what, the CEO is living in he checked in a hotel for months. So that means in a hotel, that means any day you could just say, you know what, go down to the front desk, turn the key, and leave the country. We want somebody who is really is here to stay, not just a temporary thing. So those are little things. A leader would go, if I want to go and work in a company, I don't want to go and live in a really the nicest, tallest building away from the people. You want to be part of them. You want to walk, and you want to do exactly, you want to see what they're seeing. Otherwise, you will be so disconnected. So smart leaders are humble, authentic, engaged, stay connected with the people, you know?
That's a good point. Okay, audience out there, I hope you're taking notes. Let's move on to a phrase you told me about called vicious path.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, so this is from the psychology of the employees, and I've seen that. I looked at successful companies. First, let me look at a company that is, I would say, struggling, or it's just going with the flow. And there's a large number of these companies are out there where the vicious path is you have an employee. So if I want to group the employees into three categories, first, that the entry level employees coming in have like about a year to about 3 years. And those are in the intermediate, those are the mid-level that have been with the company for about maybe 7 to like about 10, 15 years. And then those are folks that are 15 and up. Those are the experienced, those who are looking at the third phase of their career right before retirement. So a company that encourages the vicious path is a company where a new employee coming in is afraid of rocking the boat. She will see things that are different, but I'm like, and that's where their self-talk, like, I'm new, I can't make suggestions, and I don't see anybody making suggestions to make things better, so I'd better be quiet. I'm new, I don't know much, and I don't want to ruin my reputation being someone who complains about things. Okay, this kid is coming in new from school, and he feels like he thinks that he can solve the world's problem, and he's making all these suggestions. If the culture suppresses that open-mindedness, and then be able to people to share their ideas, so that person is in the first part of the vicious path, where there's like, I'd better just stay put, don't say anything, learn the skills until I get to a point where I can voice my opinion. So we're losing a we're losing a huge advantage in having someone coming from outside the company looking at it. He's just coming in, like you say, if you are one of the pixels in the monitor, you can't see the monitor, you can't see the picture. But you have somebody from outside looking at it. This is a great opportunity for someone to look at and say, why are we doing these things? And ask the questions, why? If the culture say, you ask so many questions, that's it. The person saying, I'm part of this vicious path, I'm gonna stay quiet, I'm not gonna rock the boat. Now, as soon as that employee gets to the middle, and in the middle, it'll be now I know what's going on, but the culture is still telling me, I have to be careful how to voice my opinion and how to share ideas. And besides, guess what now? I'm not a new entry employee anymore. I'm married, I have kids, I have responsibilities. So I don't want to rock the boat now. So you go from not rocking the boat because you don't know if you are capable and you can rock the boat into, yes, I can rock the boat, but that's not really good for me. To transition into the third phase, so after 15, 20 years, I've been with the company for such a long time. I have all the answers. I am experienced, but why would I rock the boat at the end of my career? You start thinking about your retirement, right? In retirement, like, oh, when I'm done with the company, I'm going to go start my own company. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. So the vicious path is a company that's built by a company that does not create that psychological safety for their employees to be themselves, to voice their opinion, to try things, to communicate with each other. That's on the corporate or the companies they don't create that environment that is conducive to openness and communication and people feeling valued. To a company that is know exactly, you have a new employee coming in, we want, the more you ask questions, the better. We want to hear it. Please tell us, how do you see things? So the employee going like, now they say, bear in mind, you ask the question, we'll give you the answer because we have experience. So don't get disappointed if we don't do what you're suggesting to do. But what we'd love for you to tell us, ask us the question, but listen to the answer, right?
So let me jump in here and comment. And here's what I'm thinking about what you just said. The top level, we'll just call it the top level rather than the boss, C-suite. If they can encourage on a regular basis and walk the talk, in other words, show it, not just have an attitude of putting up with something, but demonstrably showing appreciation for a rookie mistake or a rookie's questions, right? The rookie wouldn't have been hired if the rookie didn't display some qualities of brightness or adaptability in a certain field. All right. So This and if the rookie, just to say I'm a rookie and I'm going to ask a question that to others more senior who've been there, done that. If my question is shunned aside and pushed aside, like, oh, we've already done this, let's go on to something else. That's a shitty atmosphere, in my words. Okay, excuse my bluntness, but it could be a wonderful learning experience and a revisiting and a reimagining or repurposing the old stuff again, but from fresh eyes.
Right.
And then
Right.
everyone learns a new perspective. Let's not forget who we are, what we're doing, what it means, and then take it to the next level. And here's how it all fits together, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Right. You know, two things. I think a lot of companies, some of the companies that struggle is they're each one of them at a different side of the pendulum. So on one side, they'll say, we've been doing this for such a long time. We are General Motors. We have customers coming to us no matter what. We've been doing this, we're experienced, and that's when you get to that point that you know that you have the answer. Guess what? Then it's the time when you do not have the answer. You may have the answer for the question for the environment that was 10 years ago, but the answer now is not the same. You're dealing with a totally different environment, different market. You have competitors, you have a new employees, psychology, generations, all of that make a big deal. So you have one company that says, I got it. Why do I need to come up with it? These are the best ideas. Nothing, nobody can beat me. So one side, that's detrimental because they're not in sync with the world of where the world is going. They're so detached. On the other side, you have companies that they say, okay, we're going to throw everything out of the window, everything that was done, start new. And every time somebody say, well, this is what we've done and it worked. Oh, no, we want the new ideas. We want the new ideas. I think that's also dangerous. Somewhere in between, maybe towards the being innovative, but never really let go or of the lessons learned from that experience. Even if the experience things that are working, or even in the past, if things did not work in the past, maybe now it will work. Let's revisit about ideas that they were shut down. Let's look at the lessons learned. And a lot of companies don't do lessons learned. A lot of companies, they jump from one project to the other. Who has time to spend and more time to go and write down the things, the lessons learned? When you have another customer knocking at the door and say, I want you to come and do this. So what you do, you keep on jumping from one project to the other and sometimes repeating the mistakes. So somewhere in between, and this is where generational differences, when you have new employees coming in, you have a Gen Zs, and then you have the baby boomers and Gen X, those are the experience. The company needs to create an environment where the Gen Z feel that they are respected, valued, ideas. Yes, they have all these great ideas, and their job is to keep on reminding them to ground them with reality a little bit without affecting their spirit. And come into this to the experienced ones and say, you know what, you've been doing this for a long time, things have changed. So it's a lot of education, educating the new employee coming in and say, I know you're going to be a CEO in 2 years. I know that's what you want, and that's good, but just let's listen to the experienced one and respect the folks who are experienced and to share with you what their experiences are. And at the same time, turn to the experienced employees and say, look, the future of the company depends on this new generation. So you want to also open your mind for new ideas. You want to welcome those folks when they come in and asking the questions, share the answer, and be open-minded. And what a wonderful way to build a good relationship. If I were an experienced employee and you have a new employee coming in and say, why don't we do this? I need to be authentic. And I'm like, whoa, this is a great idea. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, can you imagine what would happen to that employee who's coming in and coming up with a new employee and come up with an idea and being respected and the company, and I made a big difference. Guess what? That new employee, the next time he talks with that experienced employee, and the experienced employee is saying, I love the idea, but here's why, these are the challenges, they're going to tend to listen. because they've been valued before, so they're gonna listen when things are not going their way. So so that's really the how I see it.
So it's an appreciation of feedback.
Yes, yes. And another measure, uh, going back to the vicious path that I mentioned, there is that ideas and everything, you come up with idea, I don't want to rock the boat, but there's also two things that is really critical. If you want to look at the KPI of an organization, how healthy an organization is, you really, if I meet with like a group of new employees, mid-career employees and experience, after I meet with these and have those conversations, I can tell you how strong the organization is by asking two questions. How comfortable are you to provide constructive feedback to your leadership? Are you comfortable in going to your first line manager, second level executive and say, hey, I don't think we're doing the right thing, and here's why? How comfortable are you? So that's the first question. Depending on the answer, that will give me half the what they say, that gives me half the answer. The second one I will ask, and a lot of people don't do that. They don't ask that question. I'm yet to see it in any literature, is how comfortable are you to provide appreciation to your manager, your second level, and your executive? Are you
What
comfortable?
does that mean?
That
To,
means that
so to provide appreciation.
appreciation, that means if I'm on LinkedIn and I have my boss's boss, and it just happened to me recently, and they will comment on something or they will put an article, how comfortable are you that you report to that to your leader by putting it down, saying, hey, this is a great idea? How comfortable are you to doing that? A lot of people don't do it for many reasons.
Because they're afraid of being sticking up.
Yes, exactly. They'll be like, I don't want to come across on being like trying to get close, schmooze, and get close to the manager, to my leader, so he can promote me and she can promote me. And I think that's really dangerous, because the leaders at the top, they're hungry for appreciation. They're hungry for they hear all sometimes the feedback that comes indirectly, constructive feedback, sometimes criticism. So there are also folks who are genuinely working really hard, sacrificing, doing everything, genuinely interested in the people. And every now and they don't get the, hey, that's a great job. We appreciate, thank you for leading us. We appreciate you. So if the other person, if they give me the answer, I don't feel comfortable criticizing my leadership, I don't feel comfortable providing appreciation to my leadership, I tell you that's not the right environment. And until you comfortably express appreciation and constructive feedback to those above you in the organization, you will not fully experience the taste of freedom. It's such a liberating to say, you know what? I'm not going to wait until I retire so I can run into my leader and say, hey, in the last 20 years, you've been doing a great job. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't feel like saying it because I don't want to come across as someone who's schmoozing and trying to get close to leadership. That is it, So until you get to that point where, you know what, the culture, and this is where the culture is important. The culture needs to be created in an environment, in a company, where it's okay to provide constructive feedback and it's okay to provide appreciate, regardless where you are on that ladder. So from now until you get an employee, until the get to that level, they're never gonna taste the freedom, that experience the taste of freedom, and they will continue to be in the wrong organization.
Now, let
And
me ask you a question, if I
uh-huh,
may, as we come near the end of this brief reel. Do you have a slide or picture or something that you'd like to display? I have opened the share screen, so feel free to
okay,
throw
let me,
something up. Meanwhile, I'm going to talk while you're looking, okay? I really
okay.
appreciate you telling me what you just did the last few minutes, particularly about how comfortable are you to speak up and um, send a message to somebody above you when they don't know you? They may see your name on a list of managers, but there's no relationship really. And how comfortable are you? Now, a lot of people will never do that for the reason that they don't want to seem like a goody two shoes or show off. But it's actually smart to open communications and to have C-suite uh, welcome it. Why not? What are you afraid of?
Yeah, yeah. This is just timely because I recently posted on LinkedIn uh, exactly what I just mentioned. So let me,
Oh,
I have
good.
it right
Uh,
here. Let
yeah,
me,
so
yeah.
stand by, audience. We
And
want you to.
thank you for giving me the time to find it. So I
Yeah,
will
yeah.
be able to.
So this
Uh,
is TV, so we want to show a graphic like this, which says it all.
so
And
this
you,
is, yeah. So this is what I mean, until you comfortably express appreciation and constructive feedback to those above you in the organization, you will not fully experience the taste of freedom and you will continue to be in the wrong organization.
okay,
And
now let's talk about this. So
uh-huh.
let's just say I'm junior to you, and we may have seen each other in the hallway, or I'm in the back of the room or in the middle of the room, uh, and there's others more senior in the organization who you as leader would deal with rather than me. But and I'm raising my hand and I'm making comments that I think are intelligible, but you may
Mhm.
not. And I'm taking a big risk. And of course, you would know that I'm doing that. And I know that you would look into me. Who's this guy talking up? And so you need to have um, ironclad guts.
Mhm,
Number
mhm.
one, and you better know what you're talking about. Number two.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And in here in the quote that I wrote, it's a behavior of the employee, but that's the symptom of the what the leaders, what kind of organization they are created. So, um, until organizations prioritize psychological safety, if I'm a leader, I want people to feel very comfortable providing constructive feedback to me. And at the same time, I want them to catch their peers, catch their folks that report to them, doing things right and say, hey, this is great. And what a wonderful environment that you go as a new employee going in and you will see all that folks are comfortable to provide constructive feedback. At the same time, they're also mentioning the great things about their leader, and oh, this is great. And not everybody is looking at them and they're trying to get closer and get promoted. That is awesome. But I tell you, it is the responsibility, not this is, my quote there is not telling the employee that they should. I'm just describing a situation of the organization. If the organization does not promote that expressing appreciation and providing feedback, something is wrong with the environment. And the environment, it's like the garden. You don't blame the bees for a garden that is not conducive to attracting them to that garden. Who is responsible for the garden is the gardener, and the gardener is the leader. The leader, their job is to create that environment. They don't need to go and try to convince. The gardener doesn't have to go on a trip and try to convince all the bees to come to come to her garden. All what they need to do is create that environment, and the bees will come. The right smart people will come. Everybody, we want to gravitate towards that environment. There's nothing worse than bringing in the best seeds and plant them in the garden and plant them in a cup. They're not gonna grow. They're gonna die. You did not create that environment for them. So that's where I say, until they create that psychological safety where they can provide constructive feedback and also express appreciation, and everything they do is just sneezing against the wind. It's just not gonna work. It's going to I think that's a lot. The two focuses, I would say, focus on the environment, and the environment, it will be also the market. Am I getting enough sun in this yard? There's the big huge wall that is preventing the sun from coming. Do I have the right customers? Am I in the right market? What am I doing? So is the gardens getting enough water? Am I rotating the soil enough to make sure am I getting my employees to be more engaged and providing those interesting challenges to keep them motivated? Am I introducing a new product? Their job is to create that environment, and the rest of the folks will come in, and it'll become. But unless their focus should be, how can I cultivate that garden? And that means customers, business, right products. And the other thing is, I want to make sure that the people are valued and create that environment where people could provide constructive feedback without worried about getting fired or getting demoted or getting not get the promotions. At the same time, I want them to feel good to say, catch me doing the right things and catch everybody doing the right thing. So
Bravo, that's really great. I've been taking notes, Ali, and creating the right environment is the role of the leadership.
yep,
Right.
yep.
Okay, so now I invite you to, if you can find it quickly, replace this slide with a slide showing your website or your logo.
I would love to do that. I know it's under construction right now. Let me
Well,
let me
only you
let,
know that it's
let,
under construction.
let me find it really quick
Okay,
here.
so I'm going to say that I've learned a lot from you in the last half hour or so. And my notes are that people are should be valued. I can't even say it. It doesn't mean I don't get it, but I just can't say it. Okay, and then leadership's job is to create the environment for the garden to grow. In other words, for the employees to thrive, strive and thrive.
All right, I found it. I'm just wanted to share it right now. And
And by the way, that's a quote from Stephen Howard.
all right, so
All
that
right.
I don't mind the picture should not be right there at the beginning. It should be under contact us, but pretty much the role of the company is connect customers with manufacturers and vice versa. So you have a company in the United States, want to want to have customers, connect them with customers overseas and vice versa. There's the cultural awareness training, and that's the soft skills, the leadership. And the other aspect of it is the technical training. I plan to grow, and it's not there yet. So that's the three legged table, or just like the focus is the global business to business, connect executives together to work together. Partnerships it could be a manufacturer and a customer. And after that, or ventures between two companies, the executive, they see eye to eye. That's not enough, because you want your mid-level managers and the people that work. When you merge those two companies together, if you look only about that, those are the top, they agree on things, that doesn't guarantee success. You'll have to be at every level. And that's why we provide the cultural awareness at every organization. That's when I mean cultural, it could be organizational culture, it could be international culture. You have two different countries working together. So as well as the actual technical training. So that's FTD Global.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And now I invite you to display the cover of the book
Oh,
that you wrote with Stephen Howard recently, because it will be a good way to segue into the close here
all right.
because of everything that you and I have just been talking about.
Okay, that's probably hopefully it won't take that long before I find it. I should have it ready, right? This is part of the
Yeah, here we are, the CEO at work. And so I'm the outlier here, looking, as you can see, I'm drifting around in the Pacific Ocean, but it's blue, it's not crappy, and it's looking good. So it's a good environment, the garden for growth. So I'm killing time here while we're waiting for you.
All right. I'm very, very, very close, and I'm sorry, I should have
All
had this
right, so
ready.
So we want this
And
time to be effective for you, Ali,
thank you.
and show the book cover, and
Okay.
let's discuss briefly. So this is a new book that just came out that Ali co-authored with our friend, mutual friend Stephen Howard. And as you could see, the background is sort of like a jigsaw puzzle, and the headline is Partnering Successfully with American Firms, How to Work Effectively with U.S. Companies and Business People. So it's not written for Americans, although it could
Correct.
be read by them. It's
Correct.
about companies overseas who want to get into the U.S. market.
Yes, yes. For the last more than 2 decades, done a lot of work in doing business in countries and helping American employees, okay, how and leaders, how to do business in China, how to do business in the Middle East, how to do business in Japan. But the more I looked at it, I did not see any book. I honestly, if somebody knows there's a book that say that, please let me know, because I would like to go and learn from it and improve our product. But I have not seen anything. All the training, for some reason, the world believe like maybe Hollywood is doing a great job in telling everybody how Americans think, and that, but there isn't. There are articles. There are articles, Harvard Business Review. There are articles talking about uh, companies. There are joint ventures or partnership with other companies, like case studies. But there isn't a book that will take a combined experience between me and Stephen over 70 years working in across cultures. With I'm coming from Lebanon and living in the United States. Um, at the same time, Stephen is the other way around. He was born in the States and he spent most of his life overseas. So both of us, it really, that was my idea. I was like, you know what? I need to have a book like this, and I'm looking for somebody like Stephen. And then as soon as, luckily and being thankful to you through your show, met Stephen, and Stephen has a publishing company. And when he was telling me, when you were talking with me about the book, I thought you just want me to print the book. You don't want me to be a co-author. I said, no, 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 absolutely. We both of us going to work on it. So like you said, this fills in a gap for companies overseas. And now a lot of people, they think it's only you have to have a company overseas. No, you are an entrepreneur. You're a leader. You just immigrated to the United States. You don't have that experience. How do you connect with Americans in United States, Canada? How do they like to be treated? This book will be very, very helpful because it gives you ideas, it gives you things to keep in mind, how to turn a relationship from being successful or a partnership that is satisfied into loyal partnerships where things goes up and down, you still maintain that relationship. So this is getting into the mindset of Americans. How do they like to be treated as business folks?
So let me ask you a question here, just because of what you just referred to about Canadians and Americans as Americans. So the North American mindset goes
Mm-hmm.
across the border.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely uniqueness. My goodness, I mean, I grew up, I lived in the United States way much longer than I lived in Lebanon. And coming from the South, studying, going to school in the South and coming into Seattle, and just like we have so many different cultures. We have regional cultures. Um, and so there's definitely some uniqueness that would help. And I mean, just and like, I mean, nobody wants to go necessarily and go and prove somebody right and somebody is wrong. There's no right or wrong. There's a right and there's right and left. So for any leader, if their intent in a partnership to go and influence the other cultures, that they're doomed to disappointment because it's not that easy. You can either work really hard towards changing somebody to think your way. It will take a very, very, very long time, or you can change how much money you have in your checking account. And I mentioned that in the book. You can do both. You'll have to decide, do I want to be rich or want to be right? And having that, looking at it from different angles, there's no right or wrong. There are a lot of things we do in the United States that We don't know the reason. It's just this is how the culture, this is what the society agreed on, norms, on behavior. This is how we're going to make life a little bit much, much easier. We're not going to go in the morning and everybody drive on the left side, the right side, really go over the speed limit. Those are norms and agreed upon rules that we need to abide because that makes life much easier. Now, other cultures, they do the same thing. They also, according to their environment, to their challenges, their history, everything, they come up with the right thing that works for them. And that's where when you have two icebergs coming in, people are only looking at the tip of the icebergs. They don't know what's under the iceberg. And this book is an invitation to go and get onto the mindset and get into the minds of Americans and see how they like to be treated and treat them the way they like to be treated, not necessarily how I like to be treated.
Thank you, Ali Shami, for being my very special guest again on Global Business News TV network. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Please
you
come
so
back
much.
again.
Thank you so much. I would love to. It's always a pleasure. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye now. Okay, this is me signing off in San Diego, and that's Ali in Seattle, a suburb of Seattle.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.